Howdy, howdy everyone, Chris here, and welcome to Garage Noise, the channel that helps you with your DIY project, whether it be a restoration or you just need to repair your damaged vehicle. Today we're going to be painting this Chevy Sonic. I'll walk you through all the steps it takes to lay down a beautiful looking base coat, clear coat finish. Today we're going to be using a low volume, low pressure paint gun called the YT160, and I've been working with the seller of this product. They've been asking me for a little bit of advice on how the gun works, what to look for, what to advertise, and what to include in the package when they're selling it. So they've got it priced at about 58 bucks. It's a low volume, low pressure paint gun that operates with very little CFMs, around 3.9 to 5 CFMs in that range. Now that's a good range because you can use that with a smaller compressor. Everybody always asks me, how small a compressor can I use? The answer is, it just depends what you're doing. If you're painting an entire vehicle, you want as many CFMs from your compressor as possible. I've seen this gun use entire vehicle painted with a 20-gallon Harbor Freight compressor that produces about 6 CFMs. If you're wanting to paint multiple panels or entire vehicle, I would say at least, at the very minimum, a 20-gallon compressor that produces around 6 CFMs. You may have some fluctuation in your air pressure, but should be able to get the job done. Just give you a quick rundown of what comes in this package when you purchase it off Amazon. This is the YT160 body. It's silver with the Teflon coating, and I gotta say, this gun cleans up pretty well. I've got the Aero Pro A610, which is the same exact gun, but it's just a different color, and this cleans up much better than that gun. If you look at the gun closely, the machining is not absolutely perfect. It comes with the 1.3 tip and needle set. So right here you can see the tip is a 1.3. I mean, the machining is not bad, but you got some imperfections here. Not absolutely perfect, but to me, that doesn't matter as much as how it sprays. And this thing sprays great. Now also, what's included in this kit is they give you some disposable cups. So you get the hard cup here, which is the 600 milliliter cup. You're gonna get the measuring cup housing, the liners, you get 3 of them, and then you get the locking collar that locks on here, and this is what seals it. Here's the lids here, and they have a filter, a micron filter here. You just lock them in like that, and then you can lock on the collar. And the other thing they give you is a tool kit, spanner tool, and then some cleaning brushes. But the most important thing is they give you this PPS adapter for the Series 1 PPS system. So you can put that on here. Let's see. Get rid of that. So this is included with the kit. And this is very nice because sometimes these are hard to find online. Now you can purchase them at Harbor Freight. If you have this gun but you don't have the adapter, wanted to get the adapter, you can get them at Harbor Freight. They're the Spectrum 57505. So there you go, all ready to spray. So let's get out in the garage, take a look at this gun and how it sprays. Let's get started. We're gonna wash this down with some isopropyl alcohol, make sure it's nice and clean. We'll mix up our paint and we'll start basing in the primered area. To wash this, we're gonna use some isopropyl alcohol. Now I've got some isopropyl alcohol in this container here. You also can use wax and grease remover or spray it like a spray away glass cleaner will clean it real well. I use multiple things typically. I'll wash it multiple times as we go. The first step is I wash it with a spray away glass cleaner. That just removes all the dirt off of it before we start sanding. And then I'll wash it with a prep solvent. And I finish with an isopropyl alcohol. It seems to have less static after you're done wiping it with alcohol. So we're gonna go ahead and wash this down. This is the final step. I'm gonna do all the white areas first. Air pressure I like to spray this gun at is for clear coat. I like about 28 to 30 PSI with 2.5 turns out from closed on the fluid volume. So just give you a quick idea here. This is the fan pattern here. We're gonna have that wide open. This is the fluid volume. Now the one thing I don't like about this is there isn't any marks on this knob. So I put a little mark on it when it's all the way closed. So right there, all the way closed, we're going to do 1, 2 full turns, and then a half a turn. Sometimes I move it up to 3/4. I might, just depends. I do that for base and clear, and then the air pressure on the base is going to be around 20 psi. I'll let you know when we start spraying, and then the clear coat's about 28 to 30. That produces a real nice clear coat. So, all right, ready to go. We're going to tack this off before we start spraying it. So we're going to unfold this. This is a tack cloth, which is a sticky cloth that picks up any dust or particles that's landed on the surface. So we're going to open it up, let it breathe a little bit, fold it up like this, and then we're just going to lightly tack the surface. Make sure, and hopefully this will pick up any dust particles, okay? I'll start from the, I kind of like to start from the top and work my way down typically, because if anything falls off, it's going to fall down. Okay, we're going to start with a medium wet coat, about 20. So we're spraying about 5 to 6 inches away right now. It's a little bit cooler today, so I don't have to be quite as close. Okay, see how it's a little bit cooler, and we're getting a little bit of flash fish eyes. This is because it's cold and I put it on a little bit too wet. So I'm going to go back a little bit farther from the panel, so it goes on just a little bit drier for the first coat. I'll just dust it on to introduce this paint to the surface. You see that right there? That's just a little bit of reaction, and it's because it's cooler out today. Now that's not going to cause a problem, because once that flash dries, we'll be able to spray over it, and it's not going to cause a problem with the appearance of the paint, okay? But just something that might happen if you put your first coat on too wet. Here's another little area. See that? See where it's got some texture to it? It's kind of like a fish eye, okay? And that's because it's going on too wet. There's nothing on the surface that's causing that. It's just because of how I applied it. So we'll let this flash off. We'll put on our second coat. I'm going to show you how this is going to disappear. See, you can see it right now. It's actually pretty smooth. You can see where that fisheye just a little bit. We're going to cover that, and I'll show you how it disappears. So I don't want you to panic if you get that, especially in these colder temperatures coming up. It's always a good idea to spray it a little bit lighter on your first coat, just to introduce that paint to the surface. As you can see, we sprayed over there, covered it up nicely. We'll go ahead and mix some more paint up. This is our second coat. We're gonna let this flash off for about 10 minutes, 10 to 15, and then we'll apply another coat. We're probably gonna need 1 or 2 more coats on this, just to be safe. Okay, so I'll give you a quick idea of how to use these disposable cups. This is the measuring portion of it. You put a liner in. Now this paint we're using is the Nason XL. It mixes up 2 to 1. So we're going to put the amount of paint in to 3, okay? And then we'll go to the 1 ratio, fill it the rest of the way up with reducer. We'll do our 2 parts of paint and then add our 1 part of reducer. You could tack this off if you wanted to. Now I'm just kind of going to look at it, see if it looks clean. And to me, it looks pretty clean. So I'm not worried about tacking it off right at this point. Now, I'm sure I will tack it off before I clear coat. For right now, we're not going to tack it off. And you can see how this is still a little bit transparent. When you're spraying, you want to make sure you're overlapping about 75, 80%. So when I make my pass, when I come back, I'm going to overlap that previous pass about 75%, okay? So you want a consistent speed. You don't want to be going slow here and then speeding up. A consistent speed as you spray, whatever you feel comfortable with. And the distance from your panel, you want it to remain the same the entire time. I spray typically about 4 to 6 inches away, just depending on the temperature. Now it's a little bit cooler today. Today it's running about 65 degrees right now. The high is going to be 72 today. Nice, comfortable day. I'm using a slow reducer. I'm going to be using a slow activator in my clear coat. So today is a day you want to be careful not to run it, because if I spray my clear coat today like I typically spray it in 90 or 100 degree heat, I will run it, okay, because it's going to flow out just a little bit more in these cooler temperatures. So what I'm going to do to combat that is I'm going to put less material on the panel, so I'm not going to have as much volume coming out of my gun, paint volume. We're going to dial that back down a little bit to 2.5, maybe 2, and put thin wet coats on. So let's finish basting this. We'll talk more about clear coat in a minute. We're going to do 1 more coat. I think that's going to be good. We're going to check it with our sunlight, make sure there's no transparent areas, but the blend looks good, nice and smooth. We should be good to go for clear coat. All right, so I see a couple little dust particles I'm going to sand out. Okay, let's mix up some clear. FC710 clear coat. This is a spot panel clear coat with the slow hardener, even though it's 65 degrees. We're going to be careful. This mixes up 4 to 1. And then our activator. We're going to do 2 thin wet coats. We're not looking for perfection on the first coat. We just want to introduce this clear coat to the surface. Second coat will slick it out. I'm going to start out on the fluid volume with 2 turns out from closed. We'll go a little bit more. That's the money. I can go a little bit faster. All right, this is ready for the second coat. Up the air pressure just a little bit. A little particle of dust there, but not too bad. Okay, so we just got finished with the second coat. Let it air out in here. I went ahead and pulled the tape right along this, where I fine lined this, and along the top, just so we wouldn't have any bridging. So bridging is when the clear coat bridges over onto the tape, and if you let it dry, you have to cut that, or else you could pull the clear coat off the rest of the panel. So I do have a little sag right here. This is done flowing out, but let me see. So right there, you see that little sag? Otherwise, the finish came out beautifully. I'm very happy with it. Few particles of dust, nothing crazy. We'll easily be able to wet sand any particles of dust out. Little dry area right here, but that's okay. Overall, it came out beautifully. The YT160, this is the kind of finish it produces. It's a low volume, low pressure paint gun. You saw how I applied it. We'll put this thing together, do the cut and buff on it as we need to, show you the finished product after it's all together and done. The Chevy Sonic is ready to go. We did a little bit of a cut and buff to remove any imperfections in our paint, but the YT160 lays down a beautiful looking clear coat finish and is a real good gun for a hobbyist or a DIYer or a professional. I hope you found this video helpful. If you want to see how this car was repaired and much more, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time on Garage Noise.